Hello and good evening. We have only two sets of attendees at the moment, so we allegedly have a lot more people joining. So just bear with us whilst we see if anybody else is going to join. By the way, microphones are disabled for attendees, but you can share your camera if you wish. But obviously, feel free to do so if you wish. Otherwise, it's quite happy that you don't. Either way. So what we're going to do is we're going to give it a little bit more time because people generally are often not prompt in attending. But if we do not get any more starters attendees in the next minute or so, we're going to make a start and people can just join as and when they want to. I'm going to start with introductions in a minute anyway. So, can hardly hear you and my volume is at its highest. That's interesting. George, Haley, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
I
But
can
I've got
hear you.
earphones in, so
I can hear you fine, and I have not got earphones in.
Right.
Can you hear me fine, Jack?
Just pop it in the chat, Jack. He's thinking about it. Oh, it's okay now. Good to hear it, Jack. Good to hear it. Right. We are going to start, I think, because obviously it's 5 o'clock in the UK. It's 7 o'clock here in Cyprus. So it's probably, we might as well just get on with it, I think. And if anybody else joins, that's great. So a couple of basic things, housekeeping things before we make a start and I do the introductions. This meeting is going to be recorded. A transcript will be produced, which will be available to be sent out to people who attend after the meeting, so that you don't really need to take notes. The PDF of the slides I'm going to show are also going to be available. So feel free to take notes if you wish. Feel free to ask questions in the meeting chat, which we're going to have a Q&A session at the end. So when you've got a question, please put it in the chat. Haley and George, the other George, will pick up on that and we'll go through the questions at the end. So I'm going to make a start, I think. Slides when transitioning now. Right, about us. So I'm George Harris. I'm the basically the general manager of cyprusmove.com. I'm joined by my colleagues, co-founder Haley Harris, and my son George Harris, who now works for the business and has recently migrated over here to live and work in Cyprus. So we are a relocation management and investment company. We established the business in 2025, and we did so because we went through a relocation ourselves. We found it, how can I put it, quite stressful. We had busy lives. We had 5 children, most of which were living with us at the time, and relocating to Cyprus was a bit of a arduous journey of time, effort, and money. So we set up Cyprus Move because we felt that we could assist people to do it in a lot less stressful way. And to be honest, that having that single point of contact over here in Cyprus would have been invaluable to us, and our clients are now finding that invaluable to them. So when it comes to this session, we're going to be talking about today the benefits of having a Cyprus business. And we've had a business here established since 2022 when we migrated here. One of the main reasons we set up this business was because we were high rate taxpayers in the UK. We had some businesses in the UK. We were IT contractors, and we were paying at least 50% of our overall income in tax. So a fairly large tax burden. And although we were quite happy to pay our fair share of tax, it didn't seem particularly fair that we were paying 50% of our income and also generating thousands and thousands of pounds in tax and VAT and things like that. So we thought there has to be a better way to this, a way that we can minimize our tax burden and also, have a change of lifestyle, because unfortunately the UK, in my opinion, isn't the place it was. So we relocated in 2022, as I've said. We've operated our Cyprus company since 2022. And I'll talk about that in a lot more detail. And just to sort of expand on what I said, one of the main reasons we moved to Cyprus is because we felt we could save money and have a better lifestyle. Simple as that. And in fact, we saved about 80,000 a year, which I'll come on to how we did that. But we saved about 80,000 a year in tax by moving to Cyprus. We also wanted to benefit from what is a fairly lovely lifestyle here in Cyprus. Normally the weather's is considerably better than it has been the last few months, but it's generally very, very good. You have over 300 days of sunshine per year, and it's overall a really, really nice work-life balance. But I'm not going to talk about the general stuff around Cyprus today, but I am going to talk about the benefits, certainly. So, not going to give a hard sell on our services, but you obviously need to know what we do in a little bit more detail. Well, we provide a end-to-end relocation management service and investment support service. That's what we do. So anyone looking to move here, we will project manage and expedite that move with all the services that you may need. And that includes things like finding somewhere to live. George Jr. there specifically specializes in that, along with myself. End-to-end management of the relocation from a project. We treat it as a project perspective. That's where Hayley really is the main go-to person for that. But we also work with a range of partners for tax advice and guidance. So, for example, if you are moving here, especially if you're setting up a business, you really are going to need to get professional certified tax advice and guidance from someone who is certified in both EU based tax regimes and also the UK. And we have partners who do that. Visas and immigration are obviously the most popular thing that we deal with, because otherwise you can't come and live here. We deal with all the different types of applications that you can make. And we're going to talk about two types today, particularly, i.e. work permit through a business, but also a pink slip that you can get for temporary residency. People want to pack up their things and bring them with them, as well as vehicles, furniture and things like that. Removals and shipping, we deal with the most popular people who do this on the island, who have been doing it for years. We don't do this ourselves, but we refer their services. As it says on the slide there, one of the main things that we do is we set up Cypriot companies for people who are looking to either operate a Cyprus-based commercial business, or really a Cyprus-based company for tax purposes, and also something that they can operate as a remote entity when working from Cyprus. Other things that we do, we help people find schools, we deal with utilities, we deal with opening bank accounts, changing your driving license over, all the sort of, I'll call it mundane, but it isn't particularly straightforward tasks that you need to do when you relocate over here. So that general advice and guidance is all included usually in our standard relocation fee. So ultimately, that's what we do. In addition to that, we do specific services for people who are looking to invest in real estate on the island, because that's very popular. There's a high return on investment with investment properties, and we specialize in sourcing the right property, providing all the services that an investor would need in order to purchase a property and start to rent that property out. So let's get on to the main focus of today's webinar. Why Cyprus? Why set up a business in Cyprus? What are the benefits? Well, when we first came over here in 2021 on holiday, I met with a colleague of mine who was living here, working here, had a Cyprus company, and decided that they would set up this company really as a tax beneficial entity. Now, I didn't realize at all prior to the conversation I had that you get full tax relief on your dividends for up to 17 years as a non-domicile taxpayer. So basically, when we were paying approximately £80,000 in dividends in the UK in tax, in Cyprus we don't pay that. So that was that was really new news to me, and obviously I wasn't aware of that benefit. So one of the main reasons why we moved here was to set up a Cyprus company so we didn't have to pay £80,000 in tax on our dividends. Huge benefit. Another benefit, of course, of having a Cyprus company is that you've got lower corporation tax. So that's a big plus point. I can't remember the exact rate of the UK these days. I think it's about 21%. It's 15% here. It's recently gone up, actually. It was 12.5%, but it's 15% now. Having a Cyprus company can also enable you to live here. So work permits are given to people who set up a company and want to work through that company here. And that will also allow dependents to live here as well. So for example, in our case, Hayley has a work permit, I'm a dependent, and George has also recently got a work permit to live here through our company. Other reasons why Cyprus is a good choice, well, obviously we've spoken about the work-life balance, the weather, the climate, the stress-free lifestyle here, and it is generally like that. People here are very lovely, they're very accommodating, they do not mind too much of the sort of migrant population that is in Cyprus. They're very accommodating of people from Cyprus who not from Cyprus who live here. So it's a nice, friendly environment. Lots of UK specific things. We drive on the same side of the road. We even have UK plugs, things like that. So it doesn't feel like you're in a foreign country with lots and lots of different types of customs and things like that. Cyprus does offer businesses, though, lots of advantages around premises. There are a lot of commercial premises that a business can use. It's quite cost effective. It's significantly cheaper to rent commercial premises in Cyprus than it is in the UK, especially in the south of England. And we are able to offer access to that through our website, which is properties.cyprusmove.com. We have hundreds of commercial premises listed on that website. Generally, though, the cost of living is also much more cheaper than it is in the UK. So, for example, I can't remember our council tax bill really, but I think it was around the 4,000 a year mark at least. Here, similar bills in the hundreds per year, about 400 or 500 euros per year. So you can imagine just on that alone, taking away the tax burden as well, the cost of living here is much cheaper. Other sort of general cost of living similar to the UK, but certainly most of the sort of major bills are cheaper. Another way that Cyprus is excellent for employers is employment law is a bit more favourable and more flexible than it is in the UK. One example, we've recently had well, in fact, since we started the business, one of our employees has gone on maternity leave twice. On both occasions, we didn't have to pay her during that process. During her maternity leave, the government pay her instead. So, that again, for a small business, that's less risk, financially beneficial. Based on the fact that Cyprus offers a stable economy, which is one of the lowest inflations in the EU, if not the lowest. It's also strategically positioned. You've got the benefits of EU membership and the single market, but you've also got easy access to the Middle East, Asia, and Africa, all within about a 3-4 hour flight. And finally, one of the sort of why having a business in Cyprus is a good idea. Access to Cyprus healthcare, which you might not think would be an obvious benefit, but the healthcare system, it's called GESI here in Cyprus, is accessible if you're paying social subscriptions, and is hugely superior to what we now get, sadly, in the UK. The NHS here is absolutely superb. So there are lots of obvious benefits there with relocating and moving to Cyprus, or even just setting up a Cyprus business just for tax purposes, because you don't actually have to live here. Right, so moving on, business establishment. What do we do with regards to that? Well, it's an end-to-end service pretty much. So we will actually do the formation of the company setup. So this has to be done through legal services, but it's not as simple as it is in the UK. And I'll come on to that, but we do that whole setup for you. We will manage your application for your work permits if that's what you need, because you don't have to have work permits. We will also do the tax residency application and also the application for the non-dom certificate, which you need for the 17 years worth of 0% dividends, tax on your dividends. We will find you a property if you need a property and office. We're located in central Paphos near the harbour, but there are lots and lots of different commercial premises, as I've said. If you do want to live here, we'll do all the sourcing of your residential accommodation. If you're looking to buy, if you're looking to rent, we do both. One of the key things that you will have to do is set up a Cyprus business account. You can't operate a company here just on a Revolut account, for example. So you will have to set up a Cyprus business account. One of the challenges we've had is working with Cyprus accountancy firms, but we've now found some decent ones, and we will provide recommendations for Cyprus accountants. Another thing that we do is we will help you set up your sort of employment contracts, because it's got to comply with Cyprus employment law. So we can help with that as well. And finally, of course, as we've already said, we will assist you to relocate here. We will even assist your employees if you're quite a big company, and do all that for you end to end. So that's our business establishment service. Right, some important information now, which hopefully are key takeaways for you to digest. So it's not like the UK where you can go on formations.com and pay, £20 to set up a limited company. It's not like that here at all. I wish it was. It's considerably more complicated, very old-fashioned in the way it's done, has to be done through lawyers. And as a result of that, it costs considerably more money and takes considerably more time. So you're looking at our fee for it is €2,500, which is very competitive. And that can take up to 3 months, but usually takes between 3 and 8 weeks, I would say. Reasonably good estimate. Now there's a significant downside that I wanted to mention. Since Brexit, non-EU citizens, if they're looking to get a work permit off the back of setting up a business, must deposit 200,000 euros into the business account on day one, which can be subsequently used for business purposes, i.e. paying yourself. But you have to have that money. Now, you can set up a business just for tax residency on the 60-day rule without having that money. But if you want to live here off the back of having a business with a work permit, that's what you have to find to start with. So that actually does, block some people, but there are ways around it in terms of, if you just want the tax benefits. As I've said, it has to be done through a Cyprus lawyer. You have to have a Cyprus bank account, which we can help you set up. And there are three main providers: Bank of Cyprus, Eurobank, and Alpha Bank. And one thing that I didn't know, in fact, I didn't know for quite a while because I did have some challenges with accountants, is that you have to have audited accounts here. It's not like the UK where it's based on a turnover threshold. Any and all businesses have to have audited accounts. So your accountancy bills are going to be slightly more expensive, but obviously based on the other savings, it's I wouldn't say it's a drop in the ocean, but it's not that serious of an issue. The Cyprus tax year isn't like the UK from April to April. It's a calendar year, January to December. And again, something we find quite humorous sometimes, but the whole sort of business process around setting up a company here is quite old-fashioned. You have to have a company stamp, for example, which on company paperwork you have to physically stamp your company details onto the paperwork. It is a little bit like the UK was perhaps 40 years ago in that respect, but you have to have one, and of course we provide that as part of the setup. But one of the key things that you need to take away from this, even if you don't want to live here officially, and obviously then subsequently get the work permits and things like that, you can set up a company and qualify for the 60-day tax rule. So you can basically spend 60 days here and then become a non-domicile and get the tax benefits that I've discussed. So that, if you're a remote worker, for example, that gives you lots and lots of tax beneficial options that you might want to consider. Just on running a business infrastructure is very good. Lots and lots of good commercial premises, very high-speed internet. In fact, when we moved here in 2022, the whole of the city of Pathos, where we live, was being dug up with fiber optics everywhere. So internet here is significantly better than we experienced in the UK. So that's not going to be a problem if you, as everybody does these days, rely on internet for your business. And in terms of the alternatives, well, from a tax benefit perspective, the main alternatives really were, and still are to a degree, Dubai and Malta. Now, obviously, Dubai, since the Iran war, is not as attractive as it once was. Malta perhaps still is, but in our opinion, has other downsides around its infrastructure, and just living in Malta is very, very small. So, there are many downsides to those two options at the moment, and which Cyprus doesn't have. So, in our opinion, and it is our opinion, Cyprus remains the best option. So, with regards to the benefits and the information you need around setting a business up, that's it. I'm obviously hoping you're going to have some questions, but before we get on to the questions, we're located in the harbour in central Paphos, literally 5 minutes walk from the sea. So that's where our office is. Anytime you are in Cyprus, please either pop in, make a prior appointment if you can, but if not, pop in, come and see us, and we can talk through the details of what we do and how we can help you. So that for today, that was all I was going to cover. Obviously, some contact information is on the slide deck that I'm going to send out. A, I was hoping for a few more attendees, and B, I haven't got any questions. So, are there any questions? If there are, please put them into the chat. Andreas is typing at least. Right, so that's what I've covered today. Hayley and George, anything that you think that I may have maybe skirted over a little bit, or anything that you would like to add?
No, I think you've covered it all, to be honest.
Yeah.
Nothing that I can add to that, really. That's quite a comprehensive overview.
Okay.
Yeah, agreed.
Right. Well, Andreas has just asked, is it worth setting up a company for property investors? Absolutely. Again, it depends on how the model's going to work, but ultimately, any company that's set up here with directors that are non-domicile, you're going to save thousands and thousands on dividends tax. So, of course, it's definitely worth setting up a company to do that. How it would work in reality with, you know, investors and where and how the money flows in and out of the company, that's a whole different conversation potentially. But in terms of for the directors, the benefits are obvious, absolutely obvious. So hopefully that answers that question. But I'm happy. Oh, by the way, this is true for all of you. I'm happy to set up one-to-one sessions. You can schedule a call on our website. Happy to set up one-to-one sessions to discuss details, because this is not a detailed conversation. It's a high-level webinar overview, but we can go into the detail of your specific circumstances on a one-to-one session. Jack, yes, I want to semi-retire and only work very part-time. However, 200k is a bit much for a tiny business. What are the options? Well, there are some options, which I was actually discussing with our solicitor this afternoon for another client. So the options are, you can set up a business in Cyprus, which officially, as a director, you will not be able to work for. But if that company is effectively doing business with entities outside of Cyprus, so for example, you've got a UK company and you are providing services to that UK company, then technically you can still live here on a temporary visa, and as long as you show that you have the right level of income coming in from outside of Cyprus that's not associated with the Cypriot company, because that's the crucial criteria, then you can do on a temporary visa, and you don't have to have the 200,000.
So, George, correct me if I'm wrong, but if you were wanting to set up a business in Cyprus to work on site in Cyprus, you would have to have that company established, and you'd have to have the 200k to be able to do that. Just to clarify.
Yeah, because you have to have a work permit to do that. Yeah, correct.
So it's only if you can manage to work remotely and have money coming in. Okay.
100%.
And that's disappointing for a lot of people, I think, post Brexit. Unfortunately, that's the case. So if you do need to work on site in Cyprus, setting up a business isn't going to, for a very small business, it's probably not going to be beneficial.
No, but again, it depends on what you do with this 200,000 after you set it up. So, for example,
yes, you can take that out, can't you, fairly quickly after a couple of weeks?
Yes, it's got to be justifiable as a business expense, but you can. So it is a case of just having that money available on initial establishment of the business, and being able to say, you know, what you need to use it on is business expenses. So again, like everything, there's a lot of ambiguity with this, but ultimately, as Hayley said, if if you're using the business and residency as a combined thing, i.e. through work permit based residency, as we've done, you need to have that money now at the start of the business establishment. By the way, we didn't have to do that because the law hadn't changed when we moved in 2022, because it would have been a significant problem for us, I have to say. Right, so Jerome, Yerona, if I've pronounced that correctly. As a private trader, investment trader, would I need to set up a company in Cyprus in case I'm moving there? Would you know the criteria from the government to determine when you are a professional? Right, okay. Well, it depends on what type of investment and trading you do, because there are some strange rules around trading in Cyprus that don't exist in the UK. I'm not an expert at that, but I know, for example, if you're a Forex trader, there are some specific rules and regulations that you have to follow that aren't in the UK. But if you are looking to set up a company and that company basically just operates in Cyprus and you're providing investment services, there's no reason, there's no criteria around whether you're a professional as such at all. No, there isn't. There's no requirement to be licensed in that way. Obviously, if you're providing investment advice and guidance, such as wealth management and things, of course there is. You can't operate without the proper license and certifications. So it depends on what you mean. So if you can clarify that, that would be great. There's some other questions coming in. This is all great for the video that we're doing of this, by the way. So this is very helpful. Right, okay. Right, so just to build on what Jerome said earlier, it's about managing my own money and stocks and shares. I have many, many friends who do that. That's exactly what they do. Now, do you have to have a company to do that? No, you don't. You could do it maybe more tax efficiently through a company, but that would be something that we would discuss with our tax advisor for you, or you would discuss with our tax advisor. We would just refer you, but that would be an option. But even without that, you can do it as an individual. Lots of people do. Right, Jack. I'm in the health and fitness industry, so running classes, and it's me doing classes. This is a problem as I'm having. So I have 200,000. If I have 200,000, which I will have, this is my retirement money. So what can I do with this money? You only use for a business.
You can take that money out when you're allowed to, and you can do with it whatever you please. That's what I understand from our lawyer after several discussions. It needs to be in there for probably up to a month for the period of your application.
Yeah, pretty much. Again, the guidance here is always a little bit ambiguous about what you can and cannot do, unfortunately. But my understanding is you've got to have it at the point where the business is established for a certain period afterwards. Ideally, you should be using it for legitimate business purposes, which could be paying yourself, because you've got to earn money because you're running a business. It could be for setting up, a studio, for example. All sorts of things that you could use it for. And you could take out the rest of it, as you could say, well, it's now business investments and things like that. So there are ways and means that you can make